over in K-pop I see 12 writers, great, but if you've had a big cut with 12 writers, surely that's better than having a small cut or even a song that's not been cut yet but with one.
A good amount of people who are listening to this episode, they want to be able to do what you guys do for a living, and that's just write songs for, you know, K-pop groups on a daily basis and make a living from it. So what honest and direct advice would you guys give them in, let's say, 3 tips?
Well, I've definitely got one big tip. I think I've already kind of touched on it, and that is just write. Like, literally, write your heart out and don't focus on one song that you've done and stress about it, and just literally keep going. No song will get unused. Even if it's not quite right the first time around, you go back and rediscover it. But I think that's the thing, is that the beauty of K-pop is there's so much opportunities, I think. You know, with briefs, and there's so many new bands coming out, and they're so collaborative. You know, over in the UK, I think there's a huge scene of, I want to keep, this is my project, I'm in charge of it, I do it all. This is, whereas they're very open. So I think that's the biggest thing that you have to kind of realize, is there's a massive opportunity to work with all these bands. It's very collaborative. So just keep writing, because, you know, you never know when your old song's going to get picked up, or it's going to be, you know, relevant to what they're looking for. Yeah, that's one big tip. And don't stress about, you know, one song. Just write, keep going. Like, yeah. So yeah, there's one. Don't know if
I would say, like, collaborate with as many people as you can. I think that, like, being a music producer can be really lonely. We're lucky because we obviously work together, but we, you know, do a lot of writing sessions with a lot of different people, and I don't know, how many people do you think we worked with, Matty, before we started, you know, before we had our first cut with, like, Ryan and Marcus writing Microcosmos?
Probably,
I'm gonna guess, like 50 different writers.
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, we kind of had a small little group of people that we would work with, definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, certainly when you've had like a couple of cuts and stuff, it does open up, because you know, you can add it to your CV, which makes you a bit more appealing. But I think what we recognised straight away as well is that the collaborators that we worked with, it wasn't always the ones with the biggest credits, or that we ended up with the best song. So, like,
yeah. It's like finding the people who have the right styles to gel
chemistry,
with you,
right?
And it's the chemistry. And once you find that person, you know, just keep writing with them. Once you know that, you know, what you're doing is much better together.
Yeah,
then,
I mean, we could be writing a song with someone who is actually their very first ever song. And in fact, we have at times written with people who have maybe written 1 or 2 songs, and actually we've ended up with something really good. You know, just with that kind of, like, you know, mix and blend of people and stuff. It's just come out quite well. So yeah, definitely collaborate as much as you can.
What would you say the third tip is?
There's so many tips. I feel like, again, kind of going back to forums and things, I always think that I often see questions about, is this right or is this wrong? And I will very rarely comment on things, because I kind of for the reason that I'm saying, I feel like no one is right and no one is wrong. There is never a correct or a right or wrong. There's opinions, and that's it. So for anyone who ever questions themselves in anything, whether it's to do with, like, even I see people saying, like, should I be working with other producers? You know, how many people should be on a song? Over in K-pop I see 12 writers, great, but if you've had a big cut with 12 writers, surely that's better than having a small cut or even a song that's not been cut yet but with one. Like, I would say, don't limit yourselves. You know, obviously from a money perspective, it's always better, and I think everybody will aim to try and get that big cut with the small team, but don't limit, you know, yourself by doing just that, because you could be losing out on a lot of opportunities. You know, if another producer wants to work with you and 2 top liners, 3 top liners, you know, if you've got a song and it's almost there, but the team that you've worked with it's still not quite right, send it to somebody else, bring them in on it. That's because if that gets the cut, then do it. I think that's something that I've learned, and I still have a debate with people. So again, I'm not saying I'm correct, but this is just what I believe, is that and from personal experience, I felt like I've really limited myself if I've thought on those wavelengths. And certainly I can look back at a few cuts and say we wouldn't have had those if we hadn't brought a few other people on.
It's much better to have like a small piece of something big than nothing at all.